Welcome to the Nonprofit Founders Club. This month, we are starting a new two-part series where we are exploring your first appeal, also known as a fundraising letter. We will talk about what one is and how to write one. The end of the year is the best time to ask for money. At the time of release, what we are discussing in the next 2 weeks will be very useful since we are approaching the end of the year. I was a board member of a new nonprofit when the concept of an introduction appeal letter came to me. Getting donations was something that was now on our list of challenges. I had been in a large nonprofit where we sent out appeal letters, and my letters normally received $80,000 per letter. So using the start from within and moving out principle and my track record of writing appeal letters, the board decided to send out letters. The typical fundraising letter I was accustomed to writing didn't make sense for the new organization. There were no impacts or client stories to tell, the things that I always used. So, how do you write an appeal letter for a new organization? This type of fundraising letter is what I call an introduction appeal letter. So, what is an introduction appeal letter? Well, an appeal letter is also known as a fundraising letter. You'll hear those interchangeably. Its purpose is to raise money for a nonprofit organization. An introduction appeal letter is a type of appeal letter that serves 3 purposes. Number 1, introduces the nonprofit and founder's vision. 2, raises money for the organization. And 3, raises awareness of your organization among your sphere of influence. And we'll go deeper into these purposes later. So what are the benefits of an introduction appeal letter? An introduction appeal letter is one low-cost strategy that a new nonprofit can use to raise money. It helps founders open up funding beyond themselves and the board. An introduction appeal letter is a way to grow your donor list, and growing your fundraising list should be a top priority. It is the foundation of fundraising. An introduction appeal letter also raises awareness among your sphere of influence. So how do we use an introductory appeal letter specifically? Well, it is part of the start from within and work out principle. In this basic fundraising principle, we start with those closest to you and move outward to people you don't know. A letter can be a good way for founders to get comfortable with asking for money. So, let's talk about the 3 purposes. First, this is a raise awareness purpose. You're going to raise awareness among the people most likely to give to you at this stage. One of the first things an introduction appeal letter does is introduce your organization to the friends and families of you and your board. This helps bring awareness to those closest to your organization that your organization exists. Now, you're going to cast your vision. Since you probably don't have client stories or impact stories at this point, you will need to cast your vision. It gives your donors something to support with their wallets. Donors like to give to specific things. Your concrete vision is that specific thing at this stage. So spend some time honing your vision. A founder's passion is contagious. I remember sitting down with a founder when I went to join the board, and this was while she was recruiting me, and she talked about her passion for this organization, and it was so contagious. So if you are a founder, share your passion. Tell the founder's story. Many founders begin their nonprofit because they have experienced the problem firsthand. They have come out on the other side and they experienced gaps in help. They've thought, if I just had XYZ, I could have gotten to the other side so much faster. Your story should express your situation and the problem you solve very clearly. Now, this may be very hard for a founder, and if that's the case, find a way to step back from the story when you tell it. So you may say, I began noticing that homeless families. You don't have to say you noticed because you were a homeless family. The more vulnerable you can be when telling your story, the better it will be received by the people who want to support you. Last, very important, why did you start the nonprofit? This is probably the single most important part of your founder's story. People connect with big whys. They remember it and they want to help. So your why should not be skipped. The next thing is, where do you want the nonprofit to be in 6 months to a year? Casting a short-term vision creates objectives that are specific and can be reported back. And since you probably don't have a program at this point, this gives your donors something to get behind. Now you have to ask for funding. You can't do good work in your community without support from your friends and family. So don't be bashful about asking those closest to you to give to your nonprofit. They are the most likely people to give to you, and it's good practice. Your other option is to continue funding it yourself. And we know this is not a long-term viable option. All right, so why does an introductory appeal letter work? Well, first, you take time to explain your vision. Your vision is what you have going for you right now. Bring people into a world that only your organization can make possible. Next, you bring some connection into the letter. So by telling the founder's story, you make a connection with the reader. Now, this connection to you will help you raise the money you need. And last, the ask is coming from someone the person knows. Fundraising 101 is to start from within and work out. I've said that. Every nonprofit has built-in donors. They are people who are naturally close to you personally or your organization's mission. So start with those closest to you and move out. Your first donors will be those loyal to you and individual board members. From there, you will move out to friends and family. Then coworkers and people you interact with on a regular basis. And before you exhaust these donors, you will define your ideal donor. And an interesting thing happens at this point. Your ideal donor will begin inviting you into their inner circle. And then last, you will be reaching out to others in your community and will begin receiving one-time donations. But before you can get to the community, you have to start with the people that are closest to your mission. They are emotionally tied to either you, your board, or the mission itself. These are the people an introductory appeal letter reaches. Okay, and in conclusion, an introduction appeal letter is a good strategy to gain some needed funds. It helps you connect with people most likely to give to you and raises awareness of your cause among your sphere of influence. All right, join me in the next episode where I walk through how to write an introduction appeal letter.